The White House and Congress are joining forces to try to ban TikTok. The Biden administration signaled support for a bipartisan bill that would force ByteDance to sell the hugely popular app if it wants to stay on U.S. app stores.
Lawmakers have tried banning the app in the past, but this marks the first time the Biden White House is giving that plan its blessing. The bill is due to be marked up in the House and Energy and Commerce Committee on Thursday.
Yeah, so it has both Democratic and Republican sponsors, and the Biden White House has said they support the bill. Remember the history of this whole trying to ban TikTok thing. Trump tried to do it via executive order. The court said no, and then the matter got dropped during the Biden administration, although Biden, like Trump, signaled support for doing something just like this. So now they do have a bill that meets the administration's approval and that pleases a lot of people in both parties. Does not please me, and I suspect won't please you, for the reasons that I don't think, despite whatever concerns you might have about TikTok, I think some of them are valid and some of them aren't, giving the federal government the power to unilaterally ban not just TikTok, but actually any app that in the federal government's definition is described as being owned by a hostile foreign adversary, and then you start to get into the definitions of what constitutes a hostile foreign adversary, gets really dicey and has obvious First Amendment complications. This is saying that a U.S. company, Apple, the App Store, they want to let you have TikTok. Americans want to consume content on TikTok, and TikTok wants to offer that service. That's all speech-related stuff. This is a bill that would say the federal government gets to come in and say, no, you can't do that because this is a foreign adversary. Will they then say that about make the same claims about Facebook because they say it has Russian malfeasance on it, all those kinds of things? I think this is very dodgy.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Help me understand how ByteDance is a Chinese company. Is it just a company based in China? Is the argument that it's because the language that's being used is that it is almost like a nationally owned company. It's like
Right.
It is China. It is one with the Chinese government. Chair of the House Representative Select China Committee, Mike Gallagher, says, "This is my message to TikTok. Break up with the Chinese Communist Party or user access to American users." Yeah. What is the basis of that allegation?
Is distinct from, is not a state-run company. It is distinct from the Chinese Communist Party. Now, does the Chinese government exert influence over ByteDance? I very much presume that's the case.
Does the American government exert influence over Facebook, TikTok?
Exactly. So before we start, we need to put our own house. No, exactly. You're so right. We need to put our own house in order. We have talked about on the show ad nauseum about this. We brought on people like Matt Taibbi and Michael Schellenberger and Lee Fang to talk about it, all the great work they've done exposing the FBI and the CDC and so many other, the Biden White House, for putting pressure on social media companies, Facebook, Twitter, et cetera, to censor content. Our government does this, and that we can stop because it violates the First Amendment, and there's a court case right now that's hopefully going to be the death knell for some of this activity, the Missouri v. Biden case. But the point being, there's a lot we could do to stop censorship, to make it so that our government doesn't engage in these things before we start going and pointing fingers at other governments, which is not to make any excuses for China's government, which is repressive and does not allow this same version of TikTok in China. It's much more controlled what kind of access to information you can get on Google. That's the case in China as well.
Right, but to the extent that we're criticizing China for infringing upon their own citizens' ability to access whatever social media that they want to, we're doing the exact same thing. Because what this is, it's not actually like impacting the company per se. What it's saying is that the American providers can no longer host TikTok in their apps. This is really it's a plain First Amendment violation for companies like Apple that host these kinds of apps and allow you to buy them in their app store so that you're more likely to want to buy their products and use their phones.
Yeah. I think it obviously violates the First Amendment.
It's punishing American companies. I just want to be really clear about that.
It's punishing American consumers as well. It's just publishing Americans who want to see this content. If they don't want to see this content, they don't have to. And also, I was looking more closely. My colleague at Reason, Elizabeth Nolan Brown, did some very good deep digging on this, on how the term foreign adversary will be defined. Because remember, this gives the federal government power to, not just against TikTok, but to describe theoretically as a foreign adversary, a foreign person that is just headquartered in or has its primary place of business in a foreign country, in an adversarial country, a person subject to the direction or control of a foreign person or entity. And again, remember all of the Russiagate kind of statements or things that are still being made today by many in the mainstream media about how various platforms are repurposing Russian propaganda or Russian narratives. That accusation has been made of Elon Musk, of being on Facebook. So I think these other platforms, and then theoretically a new platform could come along, originating in some other part of the world, providing a good service or providing information. My attitude is that people should be able to decide for themselves what's good information and what's not. That's not the government's job. It's literally prohibited by our most fundamental laws. So I think this is very bad.
Yeah. I also don't want to miss how much TikTok has come under fire right now for substantive sort of political and ideological reasons. There has been a good deal of commentary, shall we say, and in some quarters frustration by how TikTok has been a venue to amplify phone videos that have been taken on the ground in Gaza at a time when over 100 journalists have been killed in Gaza, at a time when there have been limitations to the press being able to get in and film what's going on the ground. In some ways, this is a humanitarian crisis that has been better filmed despite those things than most, because these clips have been going viral on TikTok. And I do think that while there has been a long-standing ideological push against social media and TikTok in particular around Russiagate, Russophobia dating back to 2016. The newer thrust of this does seem to be really centered on why won't these TikTok kids stop talking about Gaza, an issue that's obviously hurting Joe Biden with that base.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many criticisms they're making of TikTok. This is a good example of why bipartisanship is not always a good thing, frankly, because this is not just a Republican idea to get rid of TikTok. It has tremendous buy-in from Democrats. This bill is specifically co-sponsored by a Democrat, and Biden has signed off on it. Everyone from Donald Trump to Elizabeth Warren to Amy Klobuchar to Ted Cruz to Josh Hawley, like the big names in politics in both parties are all broadly supportive, in theory at least, of not just this bill, but other bills that give them and the federal government more control over social media, which to my mind is the exact opposite response to the problems that have been uncovered in recent months and years about the vast amount of censorship, which is a result of the federal government being too involved.
Yeah.
We don't want more of this. We don't want a panel of senators deciding whether content is politically neutral enough or originates from a non-adversarial foreign. This is an utter recipe for disaster. And I would urge partisans on both sides to imagine this power in the hands of the people you hate on the other party.
And that is exactly what's happening. There was a piece in Vox last December that I just remembered and pulled up, where that described how all of these special interest groups have been meeting with TikTok precisely over the concern that it was favoring pro-Palestinian speech. Get this. The CEO of TikTok, Shu Chu, reportedly met with executives at Tinder, Facebook, and the Anti-Defamation League, among others, to discuss moderation and misinformation, while its head of operations held a private video call with more than a dozen Jewish TikTokers and celebrities, including Sacha Baron Cohen and Amy Schumer, during which Cohen discussed accused the app of creating the biggest anti-Semitic movement since the Nazis. So that is what's going on behind the scenes. And this Vox article makes the case that it's not intentionally promoting one kind of content or the other. There is an ideological preference that has emerged among a lot of different constituency groups, including young people, including a lot of black voters, and obviously a lot of Arab and Muslim American voters, in response to what they are seeing. And there's not an accusation here that the clips are edited or incorrect or anything of the like, but the kind of visceral reaction that people are having seems to be organic, and there's an active interest in making sure that those kinds of images apparently aren't circulating as widely as they're doing right now.
We'll have more Rising right after this.